Welcome, everyone, to the season finale pre-show. The season finale, it's been 35 races, 36 for today. It's been a long season where Jesse Turner has just flat out dominated this year. He holds the most top 10s, but Nick Mace has been pretty consistent as well recently. And he's only got one less top 10 than Turner. They're both, they have 24 top 10s. Turner has 24 top 10s. Mace has 23. And really, they both have to come in here and just flat out run at their full potential for this race. Mace, with all-important pole for this race weekend, he's going to be on the pole and have the chance to try and jump out of there and lead some laps. I'm joined with a few people that are looking forward to this race weekend. Guys, feel free to introduce yourselves.
I'm Scott Roush.
There's a few other people in here, but Roush, I know you've watched from afar throughout this entire season. Give your insight just about this race from everyone coming into it.
Well, Jesse Turner certainly has put on a performance I haven't really seen in the Sony Cup Series before. I can't remember the last time I've seen someone other than Nick Mace do this type of thing. I could probably go back a long time and try to figure it out. But, it's been a while since someone's done this.
Jesse Turner, we've seen the most top 10s ever. The most top 10s I've ever seen in the Sony Cup Series for a whole season is 21. We've seen Dom Capps do that last year. Nick Mace has also done it. It's hard to do, and we have 3 drivers that have done it this year. Jake Bassinger has even done it, but Bassinger's not in the title hunt. Mace and Turner. Mace, 6 wins this year. Arguably, possibly going to have to go win this race tonight if he is even going to break the record, and then also to try and win the championship. We've the most wins in a single season being 6 wins. Mace has that this race, but Turner, he's really been falling off the last couple races.
Yeah, but Turner, all he needs is one good race, really, and it's decent, really. That's all he kind of needs.
Turner has been real consistent this year, but, he is trailing coming in this race. It's not something we've seen all year. It's just been Turner running the show. Round 10, he took it from Dom Capps, and he hasn't looked back. There's been a couple races we've seen where Turner just kind of dropped the ball. There's some races leading up that Turner is going to look back on and say, man, I really gave it away, or, man, that was really close. It's going to go either way for this race weekend, and we know how Mace is. He's just not going to let up, and he hasn't in the last 10 races, with him just winning as much as possible. I know we have Eugene Max in here. We also have Dylan Schwellenberg. Feel free to give you guys his thoughts on the season and the championship fight that we have for tonight.
Well, when you take a look at 2018 as a whole for Jesse Turner, you gotta remember, this guy only has, 2 wins this year. And the rest of the title contenders early on had, 5 or 6 wins in the earlier of the season. You gotta remember that this isn't how you start it, this is how you finish it. And with how Jesse Turner has been all year, he's been dead on consistent. He's basically the most consistent driver we have ever seen this year. At the beginning of the year, we saw basically Dom Capps being in that title seat as in that seat as the title hunt. We thought he was gonna go away with the championship, and then all of a sudden, Martin Motorsport has had a huge drop. So 2018 has been very, very exciting and kind of unpredictable at times.
I know someone just brought it up. Dom Capps, I'm telling you, 5 wins in the first 14 races. I was almost sure that Dom Capps would go all the way to Homestead to fight for the title to try and get redemption. I thought this could possibly be his year. Turner really consistent early on in the going, and Capps, just the second half of this year. Last time at Michigan, it was round 21. that was the last time we really seen Dom Capps really quick. He fell out of contention really quickly. But Turner, I know someone was just mentioning it too. It's how you finish it. In the last 5 races, Turner has gave up a total of 74 points. That is not like Jesse Turner this year, but Mace has just been on it. With a poll this afternoon by Nick Mace, I think he's really setting the tone that Turner has to win this race. I know there's a chance that Turner, he can go out there and outscore Mace by 5 points, 5 positions. That's all he needs. But I think one of these two are going to have to win. Anyone have any opinion on that?
Absolutely. I think a win will be very crucial tonight. I mean, like a top 5 finish, that's not going to cut it for either of those two. These two have been so consistent. And then also, Nick Mace, he's been riding momentum for the last few races. I mean, when you take a look at the start of the year, we thought Mace Enterprises, we're not so sure about how they were going to do. Because how Ford was dominant in the last few seasons. We didn't know what Chevy was going to bring. But now they're riding on a high, and then they may end this out with the win of the championship.
They've been having a fantastic second half of the season. Mace Enterprises has, mainly with Nick Mace, but they're right up there with the most wins all-time of a team this year, mainly brought up by Nick Mace, but the whole team has done a great job, Sean Harple as well. But when you look at the grid for this evening, I know there's a few people that are stepping away at the end of this race, and I'll get to those drivers in a second, but there is something I find very ironic and very cool to see. You see 3 Mace Enterprises drivers, 1, 3, 5, making up the first 3 drivers on the inside line with Mace, Sanford, and Harple, and then you have Jake Bassinger, Jesse Turner also on the outside line, 2nd and 4th. Turner Performance, Mace Enterprises, they're bringing some really fast cars, and I just think that's setting the tone for tonight's race.
Yeah, I mean, like, ever since Luke Martin basically retired with Mace Enterprises, when Sean Harple was decided to drive that 25 car for the rest of the season, we were kind of skeptical of how he would deliver, and boy, did he deliver. I mean, he brought so many good results for that team. I mean, he was like, how many top 10s had he had ever since he started with Mace Enterprises? I mean, we kind of discussed like earlier in the season, like depending on how Harple does with that 25 car in the rest of the season, that's going to determine if he's going to have that Mace ride for next year, and I think he deserved it.
It's been fun watching Turner and Mace going at it all season long. It's really bring a more live performance, I think, to the Sony Cup Series this season, and can't wait to watch the race, watch those guys battle it out for the championship.
I'm going to go looking through the grid real quick. I know there's a few drivers on here that, 2 of them in the top 10 in the standings right now, that one of them retiring, one of them stepping away. Many drivers that are stepping away and are retiring as well. I have a list here. Let me go and check. There's just so many drivers that are stepping away, some that are big names. Currently, some drivers that don't have any plans to try and run in 2019. Stephen Jenkins, like I mentioned, he is one of the top 10. He is one of the drivers in the top 10 in the standings. Jeffrey Finguy knocking on the outside the door. Those 2 stepping away from the series at season's end. Their plans are unknown at the moment. Carson Scott, we know he and Levi Pascoe are also stepping away. They both got a win in the last couple of seasons, only one-time win. Eric Burton, he remarkably said, like midway through the season, that he is not retiring, but he is just stepping away. Casey Lester, first season, and he is out. He is going to be stepping away. William Brock, he has been in the series for a while, but this will be his last hurrah, at least for now. We do not know what his plans will be. Jeff James, we know he'll be in the Hardee's National Series, and Bradley Bishop Jr., we think, will be in the Hardee's National Series as well. So those are some drivers that said that they are not retiring and they are not officially just leaving, but they don't have any rides. Any of those surprise you guys?
Well, to be honest, the Jeffrey Lynn one kind of surprised me the most. I mean, with the way he's been carrying on Allen Family Racing for this year, I mean, ever since he left Mesa Enterprises last year, I mean, we expected Lynn to kind of drop a bit because of how Allen Family Racing was, but with how he carried the whole team and with how he carried Dodge as a manufacturer, you gotta admit we saw a huge rise in Dodge powered teams in 2018 as a whole. When you took a look at the start of the season, they were kind of lackluster, but when during that middle and then the end of the season, they just rise and rise and rise. And if this keeps going for 2019, we expect the manufacturer race to be pretty even. I mean, the only manufacturer that's kind of iffy still so far is Toyota. So
Yeah, Jeffrey Lynn, along with Andreas Allen, James Silverfox, Sean Perkins, Stephen Pollard III. Those are the drivers we do not plan at all to see coming back. Luke Martin will be running in the Daytona 500, but he is also on the list of drivers that are retiring and do not plan to return. So that is a farewell to them. Stephen Pollard III actually failed to qualify. Perkins fell out halfway through. So Silverfox, Allen, and Lynn, drivers that are historic names that can go back far in the series. This is their last go in the Sony Cup Series, and it's going to be a little sad to see them go, especially with some like Lynn and Silverfox and Allen. I mean, they've accomplished so much. There's 2 Daytona 500 wins there for Allen and Silverfox. Lynn has been the king on the dirt, and speaking of Lynn, he's won the only race this entire season for Allen Family Racing Team. They won 5 races last year, but this team has only won once, and it was with Lynn early in the year on the dirt. So that's something I'm quite surprised. But looking forward to this race, Nick Mace, like we said on pole, Jesse Turner 4th. Is there any drivers that we believe that could be an upset for tonight's race? I think we're going to be looking at some guys like I think Sean Harple, Jake Bassinger. May want to take a look at Dom Cap. Stephen Jenkins at Atlanta ran very well. He was also quick at Chicagoland a few races back. Ryan Acosta won at Chicagoland last year. He starts 11th. And Ryan Griffin starting back there in 17th. Some drivers swapping rides at the end of this race heading into 2019. Some good runs for some drivers looking to go out on top and get a good finish for their rides as they end the year off.
to be honest, I think the surprise for this race has to be the Allen Family Racing drivers. When you take a look at qualifying the past few days ago, you see basically 2 AFRT cars in the top 15. So you see Ryan Acosta and Jeffrey Lynn, and Allen Family Racing Team won the last year, the last race of the season at this exact track. So if Allen Family Racing can carry off basically what they did last year, I think we're going to see a wild card for them again.
My pick for surprise winner would probably be that 88. They've been really fast as of late. I wouldn't be surprised if Dylan Young would pull out a big upset here tonight.
That's a good point there, too. Dylan Young was so quick at Atlanta. He's been quick recently, too. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised to see him win. Yet Motorsports has all their cars except Silver Fox, who has to go to the rear. All the AMP cars starting in the top 10.
Yeah, I mean, like, when you take a look at AMP Motorsports, everyone basically shined, but the only person that was kind of lackluster in that middle part of the season was definitely Dylan Young. And we were kind of skeptical of what he was going to do for the rest of the year, but with his recent performances in the last few races, he definitely proved why he belongs on that team and why he's still signed for 2019.
Definitely.
Charles Sanford starting 3rd, Cody Lamas starting 7th, Stephen Jenkins starting 10th. Those are a few drivers in the top 10 for tonight's race to start off. Can they win? They have went winless all year.
I think one thing we'll see is the drivers that aren't really contending for a championship is I think they're going to give those 2 in the championship standings a run for their money. Won't be easy to get it, but they're going to have to race all the guys on the track. That remember, it's not just them 2 that's on the track. So wouldn't be surprised to see some of the other people in the standings, racing for the win, racing them hard.
That's a good point right there. I mean, does anyone think that some drivers will race them really hard, or do you think maybe they may lay back and not race them as hard as they usually would, since Mace and Toner have a lot at stake?
Yeah, as far as teammates, I think the Mace Enterprises cars will try to help out Mace, and same goes for Turner too.
Let me run through what can happen and how Turner and how Mace can win the championship. There is just so much on the line, and they have to do so well. I mean, Turner needs to win. Mace needs to win. That's so close. It is so close in the title fight. 4 points separates a championship, and championships are so hard to win. For Nick Mace, finishing ahead of Turner no matter what wins him the title. Winning the race will get it for him. If Turner wins the race, though, Mace still has that chance to win the title. It's just that close, because if Mace can somehow lead the most laps, get out there, he's in the lead already whenever we go green. If he can lead the most laps and Turner gets back by him near the end, because Turner and his team, I've noticed all year, has been so good late in the run and at the finish. They've always had, like, some races they've had bad races and come back and get a bad race and turn it into a top 10 run. It's just something crazy. That's why Turner's as good and right here in the mix of things. But if Turner somehow does come back and win, if he gets up there, if Turner wins this race, Mace could still finish second and win the title if he leads the most laps. That's a big, big if. And so Mace can't really rely on that. They both have to go out there and win, but if neither of them do, it's 5 positions or more, and Turner gets the title over Mace.
Kind of reminds you of the 2011 championship in the real world NASCAR.
They both have to go out there and fight with their all. I mean, nobody can lay it out. Nobody can just lay over. The championship is so hard to come by. There's only been 4 drivers. We're going to crown a 5th 2-time champion tonight. And somebody's going to join Richard Johnson, Jordan Davis, Jacob Hart, DJ Curtis as the most winning championship driver on the grid. 2 championships are the most anyone has ever done, and it's hard to do. I mean, there's a lot of the times you'll win a championship, and that'll be your last one. I mean, it's become hard to do, but recently some drivers have been clicking off that 2nd championship. And tonight, it's going to either go to Mace or Turner. Mace has the advantage for the first time all year long, and Turner trailing, something he's not used to since round 10.
I mean, you gotta realize this. I mean, if Turner does lose the title tonight, the one thing that gave it away was that engine failure at Atlanta. If that didn't happen, then we would have saw basically Turner locking up that championship at Rockingham last week. I mean, that was such a huge blow, and if he loses the title tonight, then that was the dead giveaway.
Definitely, I agree with that right there.
For Turner, he looked like the best car at the end of the race at Atlanta, no doubt. I mean, he was fixing to blow by Matthew Rodriguez, lead a lap, and possibly take his 3rd win of the season, but just blew up. I mean, completely threw away the whole lead he had. And he had a mediocre race, and he's had a couple of those this year, but he rebounded into the top 10, which is still a decent run. But when Mace is right on your butt, you can't really afford to have a race like that. So Mace took the point lead with a very big win. And if Mace didn't get that win and get the max points, I think Turner would have still been ahead. That's how big it was for Mace to win Rockingham. But there's a couple races this year. Jesse Turner has kind of thrown it away. I know there's a couple of races. Nick Mace has also been in a couple of wrecks that have really hindered him. But there are some races, particularly with Mace and Turner, that it's really hurt them. Turner started out front at Road Atlanta earlier this year, and I just looked back on it earlier today. Turner got rear-ended by Zayden Davidson up there towards the front. And by the time Turner had to pit, he was in the lead, leading the most laps. He was on the way to a dominating victory at Road Atlanta earlier this year. And he had to pit. The crew repaired the damage, and sitting on pit road for a valuable amount of time, repairing the damage, cost him to give the lead over to Nick Mace. And Mace broke a 35-race winless streak and hold off DJ Curtis, and Turner fell to fourth, and that could very well be the difference as well. But Turner, he has no give up in his mind. I mean, when he wrecked at Charlotte Roval, it was the first tiny crack we seen in the championship hunt for him. And he went from like 40th back to 26th, and he had a very bad damaged race car.
Seems every time Turner's in the back at whatever race it might be, he always finds a way up front. So that really shows his speed in that 17 Ford machine, and definitely going to see some of that tonight, especially since it's a race for the championship title.
Well, not only speed, but just the raw determination that Jesse Turner has had all year long. And definitely one of my favorite performances from Turner all season was Darlington. I mean, he had to start in the rear. He had to start in dead last. And passing at Darlington is not easy. I mean, definitely. I mean, the tire fall off is humongous. And then if you had that kind of race pace and to go from dead last all the way to the lead and win that race, that was spectacular.
That race at Darlington was probably the best race I've ever seen by a driver in a team. I seen Nick Mace do something similar at Carbondale in 2016. He started out back, but not dead last. And Darlington is such a tougher track. I couldn't believe it. I thought Turner was coming to the front and he was going to stall out in the top 10. But no, he went to the front and won that race. He was not letting anyone gain ground on him. Everyone thought that this was going to be a race that they was going to gain back all those points on Jesse Turner, and instead he extended the point lead even more, and it looked like it was going to be Turner's championship locked early. But some misfortunes for Turner has brought him into this position. Turner has been notorious all year for being so solid that nobody could make up ground on him. There was no way. Dom Capps got in a wreck with Turner, racing him really hard, and people thought it was very intentional by Capps at Chicago for round 19. That was Turner's first DNF. He ran nearly 20 races all year. 0 DNFs, and everyone else had a DNF by round 10. So Turner has been very consistent of finishing the races and being in the top 10 in nearly all of them. He has been very good until we got into the round 30s, and consistency is good, but winning is even better. And when Turner wrecks at Charlotte Roval, blows the motor, finishes near dead last at Atlanta, and Mace goes and wins 4 of the last 9 races now, it's brought a significant amount of points down. And I'm just so surprised to be in this situation where Turner is not the point leader heading into the season finale, and that we still have a championship fight. And these two have been really close in speed all week, and they have been so fast. Mace and Turner performance cars, they're all so evenly matched. I think all the teams are going to be racing really hard. I think the Mace car is going to be racing Turner hard. I think the Turner car is going to be racing Mace hard. And I think most part that everyone else is going to try and stay out of it and not determine the champion. But everyone wants to win and wants to go out on a high. We've seen that with Sky Commons last year. And he won his last Sony Cup Series race in his last start, and that was a big deal for him to break a long dry spell. I think we could be in for a situation quite like that.
Not only is it just for the championship too, I think they're also trying to prove, who's the better team so far this season, because both teams have been so dead even. And then, after Turner's slip up as of late, that's where Nick Mace really gain points, as you said. So not only just for the championship, I think both teams will really be going at it throughout this race.
I think Jake Bassinger is going to be one that's going to be very determined to win this race. I think Jake Bassinger will want to win this race more than anything. Right now he's 4th in the championship. He's battling hard with Dom Capps to make sure he beats him to get 3rd in the title. But Caps and Bassinger have 5 wins apiece, and that's a lot of That's a lot of wins to have in just one season. It's hard enough to win a race anyway, and they have that many wins. And Bassinger was almost like Dom Capps, winning as much races in the second half of the season. He really came on strong. People thought maybe he could come back and win the championship, but he kind of stalled out. Bassinger, I think he's going to try and go in here and be like, if I'd have just done a little bit better in finishing races like my teammate, I'd have been fighting for that title, and he wants to win that race too.
Well, I mean, not only Baskinger, but I talked to some of the drivers before the pre-race show even started. I talked to Cody Lamas. You gotta remember, this is his home race. I mean, his home is basically a couple of minutes away from the speedway, and he's very determined to win at Miami in his home track. I spoke to him earlier this week, and he's basically like, look, this has been a horrid season for CBM. There's no doubt about it. After a championship-winning year from that team has basically hit an all-time low, and as a result, they're shutting down at the end of the season, and it's all very sad. So, CBM wants to go out with a high, and they want to end with a win. And if Cody Lamas, he's starting 7th today. If he can win at his home race, we're going to see a lot of emotions pulling out of him.
Oh, yeah. Cody Lamas, he has struggled. That whole team, Cybertron Motorsports, has struggled second half of the year. And a win for them would be huge in their final run here at Homestead. They won the championship last year, and they're not going to be able to defend that crown. But Curtis in the top 10 in the points, he clinched that. It's still a solid year nonetheless, but nothing that Curtis was really looking forward to. And I thought Lamas was going to be a top 10 driver in the standings, but he kind of fell off the pace in the second half of the year. I do believe Lamas is wanting a good send-off for his race team when he goes to Mace Enterprises for 2019.
You can imagine how Auto Club was for them out there in California. What a heartbreak that was for Curtis right there. I personally feel for them after that race.
DJ Curtis was trying to really bring it home for them at California. He's got that win at Cleveland. They've won once this entire year, but they're wanting more. They want one more to go out, and they didn't think that one last win at Cleveland. And the news hadn't even broke by Cleveland that they were not going to be returning in 2019. So it kind of broke after Pocono 3 races later, and ever since then, they've really been falling off the pace. There are some drivers, though, some rookies starting up in there in the top 20, like I'm seeing here, with Caleb Hoffman, Bobby Jones, Casey Lester. They've all had really good runs this season. Bobby Jones really coming to life in the last handful of races, getting a couple of top 10s. He's brought that team into the top 30 in owner points, and they're looking good for 2019 with Ford Performance, getting some help from Turner Performance with a little bit of alliance there. Lester, he is moving down to a further team role for the Horizon Group, and Caleb Hoffman clinched Rookie of the Year last race.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I was kind of rooting for Schwallenberg to win Rookie of the Year. I mean, it was between either of those two, hands down. I mean, when you look at the performances they had this year, they have been outstanding, and Schwallenberg has some outstanding races this year as well. And you gotta remember, this is Curtis Racing's first ever year as a Sony Cup Series team, and they had some struggles there and there, and they didn't make qualifying a couple of times, but they've been steadily improving, and 2019 I think it's going to be a big year for them. And I mean, congrats to Curtis Racing. I mean, they had a decent year, and then I expect them to be really solid in 2019.
It's gonna be fun to watch teams how they perform with the new cars next year. So that's why I think 2019 is really hyped for the first time in a long while, I would say.
Oh yeah, definitely. I feel like for 2019, I feel like everyone is going to be rookie status. The reason why I say that because the new cars themselves. I mean, everything basically changed about those cars in terms of safety, how much speed improvement there is, how powerful the engines are. I mean, basically everything about those new cars are basically brand new. The brand new chassis, the brand new bodies. I mean, it's gonna be either a smooth sail or it's gonna be a struggle for teams to learn with the new rules package.
Yeah, Fisher Motorsports actually made a statement about how they're not really going to set any goals yet until after the first 5 races, just to get a pretty good feel of how the cars run. So after that 5th round, that's where Fisher Motorsports really plans to set their goals for the rest of the season.
A lot of focus shifting towards 2019. A few teams are focused a lot towards the 2019 season, and a little bit of focus has kind of dwindled from the 2018 season as everyone's kind of getting more prepared for the 2019 season. But you can tell that the top 2 teams right here, Mace and Turner, they are still very much focused on the driver's title, and it's going to be a nail-biter. I mean, Mace on pole did everything possible he could do so far. Getting on pole, now the thing for him is just to go out and win this race and break Eugene DeMax's record of most wins in a single season. That's a lot what he needs to try and focus on, because Turner is going to be focused solely on that. But Turner cannot afford just a good old day. Turner cannot afford to have one of his top 10 days. Turner has ran 4th to 9th way too long in the season, and his races all year for him not getting those wins that he really needed. There's a couple that really got away from Turner, like I mentioned, Road Atlanta, like Texas, Rockingham. There's just so many races that all year that Turner has ran just about 5th to 6th to 7th. And Mace has clicked off those important wins with the bonus points that comes. And Mace is your point leader. And winning is all on the table, and Turner needs to win. Turner is going to need to win this race, and Mace is going to do everything he can to keep him back there, and Turner needs to do the very same, because the way it comes down to, if they end up running at the top, running side by side for the lead and going for it, Turner needs to make sure that he leads the most laps. If Mace is still right there in the battle for the lead, I think these two are going to duke it out for the win all night long. And I think there may be some spoilers that come into play and may ruin some drivers' hopes at a championship. I don't know who those are going to be, but I think there's going to be some drivers that are going to try and push them aside and say, hey, I'm trying to get myself and my team one last win before we go into the offseason.
Yeah, I mean, when you take a look at the top 5 in points in general, I mean, Jesse Turner is basically the driver that has the least amount of wins out of that entire top 5 in points. He only has 2 wins, while the rest of the guys have like 4, 5, or 6 wins. So Turner needs to win this race. 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, whatever. It's not gonna be enough for a guy like Nick Mace. He's basically on the top of every single freaking record that there is in the Sony Cup Series. And if he wins today, if Mace wins today, you can add that championship as being the top of that list.
Mace needs to really finish where he starts tonight. And Turner's just going to have to try to find somewhere around that 48. I don't know how he's going to do it, but the 2nd place, like you previously just said, 2nd place will not cut it. This race is a win, and you just got to really dominate all night. The win is the big word here.
I think that's the excitement here. Coming in at 35 races, a long season. We were preparing for Daytona back in February. We ran the Daytona 500 in March. Seems like a long time ago. The end of November, 35 races, a long season. And it's this close. It's anyone's game. And it's all up for grabs. And winning is the only answer to winning the championship right now. I do not believe that it's going to finish where Turner has to just finish a few spots ahead of Mace. I don't believe that for a second. I think it's going to come down to who wins the race. I think that's the ultimate factor. That is going to be it for the pre-show, and we're going to get ready for the live stream coming up in just a few minutes. Oh, boy. Oh, boy. Oh, my goodness. 9 minutes. 9 minutes, and we'll go green.
I'm
Oof,
back.
you missed a good bit.
No, this
I
better be
basically
in
took
Super
over the second
HD.
half of that pre-show. I'm basically the Jeff Gordon of commentating now. I'm sorry, Curtis. I took that away from you.
You were really good. You and Fisher were like really good just then.
I had to leave because others didn't.
I was a little upset you stopped talking, Roush.
But yeah,
Yeah.
like I said, this is a must-win situation for both drivers here.
I mean, it's not going into this race. I would not believe that the champion would only have to outscore a few points. The way it is, and the way they qualified, and the way they have performed, I do believe that it's going to come down to who wins. And even so, if there is a situation that if Toner wins, Mace leads the most laps, finishes second, it's not good enough for Turner. Max points is all he needs, and he is champion.
This race is so critical.
Finishing ahead of Turner is all Mace needs. And, give me 1 second. I will be right back.
I'm still a bit salty. Mace broke my win streak in one season thing. But you know what? If he wins the championship and if he wins that final race, I'll be happy. Okay, I'll be happy. I'll be happy for the guy.
At least you have a win streak, man.
It's my last race.
Who's last race?
Oh, Andres. Andres is here.
Hi, Andres.
R.I.P.
One last race for Andreas Allen, man.
I mean, hey, your team won the last race of the year last year. You could do it again.
Hmm.
I mean, we gotta admit, last year's race at Homestead was a big surprise with Dodge winning.
Yeah.
Maybe I should switch to Dodge.
Go for it.
Dodge is riding momentum right now. I mean, I'm looking forward to 2019 because the manufacturer's race. This is gonna be the most even it'll ever be in the last few years.
Oh yeah,
Period.
I'm ready. I'm ready.
Meanwhile,
to
Toyota's
testing.
being
I'm
slept
so
on.
happy.
It is being slept on so hard right now. Watch, we're gonna come back next year.
I could see it.
It'll be hard for Toyota not to win, considering Martin Motorsports is gonna be Toyota.
Dude, Martin
Still can't
Motorsports
believe
is
that.
gonna basically be the Joe Gibbs of SCS now when you look at it. Like helping a struggling program and then all of a sudden they're basically winning potential now.
Maybe if we switch to a one-car team, we'll turn into the Furniture Row.
Maybe
Or,
it's reversed.
minus-
No. Rodriguez Racing is basically Furniture Row already because there's
Minus
only
the
one
shutting
full-time
down
car.
part. We're gonna be the new Furniture Row minus the shutting down part.
Minus the financial.
Plot twist because.
But yeah, I'm
there's-
sorry, Rodriguez Racing already took the Furniture Row racing spot,
I got.
except the shutting down part.
God, Rosh.
Damn, so that was probably leave me at front row or fucking go green.
So, I'm figuring if Martin was already good at Ford, won't the reverse happen?
Oh shit.
Good point.
Great point.
Touche.
They're gonna become shit once they go to Toyota. I'm gonna say that.
Next year's just gonna be fun to watch.
I mean, to be honest, I expect Toyota to be really strong on road courses. I mean, there's like 10 of them for next year. And Toyota already has a fair mix of, road ringers. You have Fitzwater, I mean, he's with Fisher, so I'm pretty sure he'll do well at road courses. Eric is basically kind of a road course ringer too. I mean, that basically runs into Max family blood. I mean, that usually how it was. Curtis definitely, with him going to Martin, he's also a road course ringer. So I expect Toyota to be really good at road courses. I mean, if not really good, then decent.
Fisher was doing great at a road course. I'm not sure if it was last year or this year. It was probably this year, but I think he spun out or something. But he was really good at road courses for the least part.
But yeah, I mean, in terms of certain tracks, I mean, Ford and Chevy, I'm pretty sure